Good afternoon. It's going good in yourself.
Bobby, Tyler brought us pizza and wings on Monday.
You said what?
Tyler brought us pizza and wings on Monday. Do you have any plans?
Pizza and wings on Monday. I'll see what I could do. It might not be like immediate. It could be something like in the future, but I think I could top it.
Near future, like in a long, long.
I think no matter how long you wait, it'll be worth your time.
When you consider the amount of offense that the Ravens are putting up, what's the biggest takeaway from what you've seen in your defense, how that's going to translate on Sunday?
We have to be really disciplined and really know where the ball is going to go, because I think they have so many different styles of runs. They pull to the left and run to the right. They do pullers and throw the ball. They do so many different styles of play, so you just got to really be on the film study, really be on what they want to do in certain, when we run certain fronts, and, we have to really be in our keys, because it's a really important week for us to be on our keys.
How have the previous runners that you faced kind of helped prepare this season, because you've had a variety of runners, some have had big games. How have they helped kind of get that knowledge base going for Sunday?
They helped a little bit, but I don't think we've see a running style like this. I feel like I have. It was similar to how they ran the ball with Kaepernick, with the pullers and different gap schemes, traps, all those different things. But Lamar is a different animal, so we got to make sure that we do our best to contain him.
What reception, Bobby, you expect for Earl on Sunday?
It should be appreciation. He did so much for this organization, so much for this team. He's a legend here, so I would expect him to be well received. He's a guy that Jersey probably be retired, and it's just a lot of respect for him. It should be a lot of respect for him.
Will you seek him out before the game? Talk to him?
Maybe, I don't know. It is what it is. I don't know if he comes out and warm up, so it might be too late at that point. I'm locked in. I know he's gonna be locked in, so I'll find him at some point. Still his jersey.
20, 30 years from now, when you look back at playing with Earl Thomas, what do you think you'll remember the most?
Just how fast he was able to get sideline to sideline. I don't think there's anybody that's able to do some of the things that he did on the field. He was a very, very special player. Understood the game of football really, really well, and I know I played with one of the best for sure.
What is it going to mean to you to have Jarran Reed back in front of you?
It's going to be great. He's been such a key part of our defense, not just his play but his leadership. To just have that back and have him back to provide some pass rush, to provide some in plays in the backfield, it's going to be huge for us.
Do you make it a personal point to make sure that your backup is always ready just in case?
100%. I feel like both me and KJ, you're only as good as the guys around you. If we got a bunch of knowledge, and we try to give that knowledge away. And, Cody's done a great job. He's a really smart guy. And, I definitely feel like if he had to step it, he could. But, we pride ourselves on, giving knowledge away and allowing, people to excel even though they're not starting. Because at the end of the day, they're feeding their family. And you want everybody to be able to succeed in doing that.
You were always a vocal part of this defense, but in the second quarter, when you decided to bring the defense together, at what point do you know that it's time to do something like that? If you overdo it, it loses its message. I mean, what was the tipping point there where you said, look, this isn't going to cut it?
I think the biggest thing was I felt like, they weren't necessarily doing stuff that beat us. It was us not being gap sound or not doing something right at a key moment that was hurting us. And so, I felt like, when you get down like that, your next instinct is to try to overdo it or try to, do something, we were down 20-6, so try to get all them points back in one drive. And so I just tried to remind the guys that we were fine. We just got to do our job, and we got, 3 more quarters to come back, and we will.
Where do you feel the defense is just in total through 6 games. With what you've seen, how the pass rush is developing, with the Clowney and Onset and so forth, and just in general the way the whole group is.
I feel like we are closer than last year at this point. I feel like, we have a lot of improvement to go. There has been some good games. There's been some not so good games. We had some games where we stopped the run. We had some games where we didn't. We had some games where we stopped the pass. We had some games where we didn't. And so I think the main thing is working on the consistency and, doing it over a span of time would be the thing that I feel like we have to do better.
As a veteran, maybe it's more perspective on what it's like in this league, and you see guys come up and go and whatever, but you see a guy like Will Dissly who had to work his way back all over the league. And he gets off to a hot start and it's looking like, a go-to guy, and then he goes down again. I mean, for you, is it just that you feel for the guy maybe differently than you would have in year one, and you talk to him, and how do you react to something like that?
You definitely feel for him because you watched him, get hurt. You watched him grind all off season, and it was an injury that a lot of people didn't feel like was going to be able to bounce back the way that he did. And to see him bounce back, come, and then get off to an amazing start that he had and then get hurt again, it was unfortunate. But at the same time, too, when I saw him afterwards, his spirits was kind of like, all right, well, let me do this again. And so it's always like encouraging to see someone that's going through something like that to still find the positive or still try to be positive in that time. I feel like guys can look at that and see kind of like, all right, well, the little stuff that you stressing out in your life may not be as big a deal as you making it. And so it just provides you a different perspective and definitely allows you to be a little bit more grateful for the things that you have.
Against a lot of running, you played against a lot of running quarterbacks. Does Lamar Jackson do something better than anybody you've seen?
Well, I haven't played him yet, so I don't know. From film, I think he provides he just knows how to get out of the pocket. He knows how to make people miss. It's plays where, you think somebody got him. He stops on a dime, does a spin move, something, and it's just amazing, to watch. But, there's been a lot of spectacular runners, and I think you just got to find a way to hit them. And so that's what we're going to try to do.
Chris had a run in the game this past weekend where you went walking down the sideline afterwards to greet him. How much do you as a defense kind of feed off the offense when they're going good and vice versa, that kind of you build each other up during the game?
You definitely feed off them because, when you watch Chris Carson and he runs somebody over, you kind of, it kind of ignites the sideline and you feel that energy. And so that's why sometimes I don't sit down on the bench because I feel like I won't truly feel that energy if I'm sitting over there. So I'll get up and I'll watch just so I can see the flow, how's everything going, and, feel the energy that they have because it's a different energy. But it definitely ignites us, and I feel like it's the same way. If, offense is watching us and we get a big play, big hit, sack, whatever, and they see that energy, it's almost like you want to do that too. You want to make a play that's going to ignite the sideline the way that play did.
You're 14 tackles away from breaking the career tackles franchise mark here in Seattle, 29 away from 1,000. Either one of those marks important to you, and one mark more important than the other?
I had no idea that was even the case. So I think it's cool. I think it's not something that I necessarily focus on. I feel like it's going to happen. I'm not going into the game being like, all right, well, now I know 14, I got to get 15. I think my main thing is find a way to put my body on Lamar Jackson. That's pretty much all I'm thinking about, stopping the run game. And, if and when it happens, I think it'll be really cool. But I'll wait for it to happen.
Is Mark Ingram someone who can be exhausting to go against in terms of his physicality?
He definitely brings it. I feel like he's definitely one of the more physical runners. He brings it every single play. You match him with Lamar, and, they have a couple other backs in there. So I think that's their whole point in the way that they run the ball. They want to just keep pounding and pounding and pounding until maybe second or third quarter. They think you're tired, and then they break off a long run. And I feel like we look forward to it. It's a challenge. I love playing teams that run maybe not these different exotic runs. It would be nice to just have you come straight at me. But it's always cool to play a running team because it's, kind of back like the old days is who can find the ball.
Do you have a favorite play that Earl Thomas made while he was here?
Favorite play from Earl Thomas. There was a play that it wasn't really amazing. It was amazing to me because of what it is, but he was a deep thirds player, and so he had no business making a play in the flat from deep third. But he saw something in film, and he left the deep third and got a tackle for loss on a play that wasn't even his. And so it's a bunch of little plays like that that just shows his intellects and his confidence and his ability.
Do you remember when that play was or who it was against?
It was in Arizona. It might have been Larry Fitz, might have been someone else, but it was maybe 3 years ago.
If he did something like that, would he get chewed out at all for it, or would the coaches just be like, it's Earl being Earl?
I don't know if he'd get chewed out for it because a lot of the times it was like a 99% he knew that play was coming, and so he took the chance. It wasn't like one of those things like, I think I know. I know this play is coming, and he took the chance. So those plays were always special because you didn't expect him to make those plays, and everybody knew that the play was going there, but he just got there before everybody else.
Were you thinking, where the hell did he come from? He's supposed to be way back there?
Yeah, but when you watch in the game, I just look and I see Earl make the tackle. Then you watch the film and see where he came from to make the tackle, and then you just like, okay, now I see how you got there. I thought he was just sitting over there, but he ran like 40 yards in 2 seconds.
Do you feel like Earl has any regrets about the way it ended here after all those great years?
I don't know if he has any regrets. It's not necessarily something that I've in-depthly talked to him about, but I think it's a visual of how tough the business could be sometimes, and it's hard to always put your feelings aside because at the end of the day, when the business comes into play, it's not just you that's affected. It's your family. It's your, imagine if you have, a little kid at home, son or daughter, and they love playing in Seattle. They love being in Seattle. They have all these friends in Seattle, and then Seattle cuts you, and you have to go to that little person and tell them you can't be with your friends anymore, and we can't live here anymore. We got to go somewhere else. That's a tough conversation to have. So I think a person being in that space, I understand the difficulties of the business. So I don't know if he regrets it or not, but I understand where he was coming from and how difficult that must have been to affect not only him but his family.
Is that something you've now taken on with players as a leader to talk to them about that once they leave, or just, once they go, they go? Do you got that compassion for that?
Well, a lot of the guys that have left have been older than me. So when you're talking about Cam Sherm, Earl, Mike Bennett, those guys have been older. Mike Bennett's been on a few teams. Cam retired. So they're kind of just figuring it out too, as myself. So at the end of the day, we close, and so we always still be around each other. Even in the off season, when Sherm's out here, he'll reach out, and I'll go and I'll beat him in basketball at his house, in his backyard. And he fouled me on the last play. But
What's the record?
it's a lot to a little. Yeah, you can ask me that. It's a lot to a little. But we still brothers at the end of the day. So at the end of the day, in those situations, it's like, yeah, you're not here, but we still come, hang out, talk, and chill, as if we're not playing together.
You clearly accept the business part of it and benefit from the business part of it. But is there a part of you that has a sense of regret and a hole in you knowing that realistically, in a different era, Earl Thomas and Sherman will still be here? For example, the 70s Steelers, Steel Curtain, those guys, 6 or 7 Hall of Famers on defense, played together for a long time. In this era, those guys would have been splintered off over time. So is there a part of you that regrets the way the business is now and that you're not still playing with those guys?
I mean, I don't know how I can regret it, but because the business is the business, you know what I'm saying? So,
Regret the fact that you're just not here.
but the business, the way it was like that way before, we kind of came together.
Right.
So it kind of goes back to the being grateful part. We understood that the 7-8 years that we got together was unheard of during this era of the business. And so for us to be able to figure out a way to play with each other for 8 years or 7 years or whatever, that's still something really special. That's still something really cool because, like you said, if this was back then, we played for a long time. But even now, us playing together for 7, 8 years is unheard of, but we were able to do that. And we sacrificed a lot, and we were able to put aside a lot of things to make that happen. So I don't know if it's regret. I think it's something that we look back and we're grateful for. And it's a time in Seattle history that I don't think anybody will ever forget, and that's something that we are proud of.
Anything else?
Thanks, Bobby.
Appreciate it. Have a good one.